Good morning, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to do a live video. I've been busy with sessions, working with couples and families, and doing some other things. So it's good to be back. I'm glad to be sharing some more, just some more tips with you, and continuing this conversation that we've had over the last few months. Today, I'm going to be talking about four common problems in marriages and relationships, and their solutions, and some insights into those problems. So in the title of this video, we talk about common problems. And really, I want to back up a little bit and tell you that there are two types of problems in marriage. There are what we call solvable problems and perpetual problems. In research, 69% of what couples fight about are not solvable problems, they're perpetual problems. There are differences in personalities, there are differences in temperament, preferences, values, beliefs. And so really the fight is about something deeper than the issue itself. And not always are those able to be resolved as much as they're able to be handled, and we can find compromise as a couple. So that's one thing to remember. Only 31% of what people argue about can be solved in most cases. However, there are solvable problems. Not every problem is an issue just to understand your partner better, but we can actually compromise and take action. Four common areas nowadays that couples tend to have problems are things like digital distractions, bringing work stress home, money, and housework. So let's dive into those four for just a few minutes here today. When it comes to digital distractions, some authors have said that today we're in something known as the attention economy. And I think that's a very good way of describing how much competition there is for our attention. You know, your smartphone is dinging, ringing, and buzzing all day long with notifications, text, tweets, Facebook posts, comments, emails, calendar invites, and reminders. So many distractions. And what I find more and more with couples is part of the communication issue they're experiencing is one or both of them are constantly on their phone. And they're constantly distracted by their phone. In fact, more and more we're seeing people have conversations face to face where they're spending a good amount of time looking at their phone, looking back up at the person looking at their phone. And the other person usually doesn't feel very good about that. They don't feel that they're getting undivided attention. And of course, of all relationships, friends, family, the one relationship where we don't want to make our partner feel less important and not heard, and that we're distracted is probably our marriage and our loving relationship. So the key here with digital distractions is this: the one who is feeling resentful and hurt by that divided attention, by the fact that they don't feel very important, it's really important that they bring that up conversationally, bring it up in a calm manner, but be very clear that that's something that's that they feel disrespected and maybe even dishonored in that issue. So the conversation really can become, let's make some tech agreements as a couple. Are we going to put our phone away at certain hours of the day, at meal times, at bedtime? Are we going to designate time to be free to be on devices in the evening? I think it's very, very important that we openly discuss and agree on that. Let me give you a personal example. A few years ago, my wife talked to me and she said, "Jim, when we go out to eat as a family, you're often checking, sports scores and comments on Facebook or things like that." And she said, it's almost like it's a compulsive thing where you just do it, and maybe you don't always think about it. You're in the habit of doing it. And, at first I thought, oh, really? But when I thought about it, she was absolutely right that I was very, very distracted. Since then, I leave my phone in the car when we go to the restaurant. I just don't bring it because the buzzing, it's all just such a temptation. And it's so easy just to pull it out and quickly deal with it, but the other person does not feel very important. So making a tech plan is very important. The second common problem in relationships is bringing work stress home. So let's talk about a fictional couple, Alan and Ashley. Let's say Alan has a big presentation coming up at work, and at night he's at the house. He's getting his documents together, his PowerPoint presentation together. He's studying his notes, and one day he comes home and he sees that his wife has cleaned and the pile of papers and notes has been moved to a bigger pile, which is his stuff to clean, right? So he's already feeling pressured, and he's got this big presentation coming up. So he kind of snaps at her and says, "Why'd you move my stuff? You know, I have this big presentation. I have got to get ready for that." The other the other side of the equation, Ashley, let's say this fictional person, Ashley, she comes home and he was supposed to go grocery shopping after work. But of course, with what's going on with work, his presentation, he forgot or didn't have the time. So she goes into the fridge and opens up and sees that there's half of a pizza from 2 nights ago, and that's the plan for dinner tonight. So they're each fighting and they're arguing with each other. And really, the issue is not pizza or did you move my stuff. The issue is we're bringing work stress home, and we're not really having a reunion as a couple that really connects us. So reunions at the end of the workday are very, very important. In fact, they're often called rituals of connection. So here are some rituals that many couples do that find that it prevents those arguments, that it really helps them to connect before they deal with their evening. Some couples come home and they have what's called a daily de-stressing conversation. In fact, I teach many of my couples to do this, where they'll spend about 20 minutes telling each other about their day, the stresses of their day. It's kind of a forum to share funny moments, positive moments, but also, and maybe most importantly, to complain. We need somebody that we can complain to from time to time, and just get that off of our chest a little bit. So we want to spend a little bit of time hearing about each other's day and de-stressing. Some couples do this. I read this recently and I thought this was terrific. They actually will spend 2 to 4 minutes in a consistent hug with each other when they come home. And after a couple of minutes, the body just begins to calm down and de-stress. You know, there's such a release of oxytocin, which is a bonding, calming, loving, neurotransmitter. But it's also such a great way to connect at the end of the day. That may not be for you, that may not be for every couple, but that's another option for a reunion. Some people, they find that the ride home, it's very important that they decompress so that when they come home, they're not irritable and snappy with their spouse. So it's very important on the ride home to kind of think about, what am I listening to? Is that helping me to decompress from the day? What am I thinking about? Maybe I'm praying. Maybe I'm kind of offloading some of that stress in prayer. Maybe I'm listening to good, relaxing music. But coming home kind of with a clearer mind can be a very, very important way to re-engage your spouse in the evening. So bringing work stress home, we really want to focus on rituals of connection, and we want to focus on what's the real problem. If we're fighting about the presentation and the pile of stuff being moved, and she's upset about the pizza, the problem is not those issues. The problem is what's going wrong with us right now that we're fighting like this. Are we too stressed? Have we not connected? Are we not on the same page? Are we not forgiving, people who forget things? All right. So the third common issue is money. Now, I want to say this about money. Most fights about money are never about money. They aren't. They're actually about deeper values and beliefs beneath that. So let me give you an example. A typical scenario is one person in the relationship sees money as a means to plan for the future, to have some security, to make a nest egg, right, and to save for college for their kids. And they're a planner, right? They're not a spender. The other person might be more of a spender, but their reason is, maybe from their childhood, life is short, right? And why be so, living so tight all these years if there is a little bit of money to have fun, to enjoy activity as a family, to go on dates, to have some nice stuff. Life is fast, life goes by fast and life is short. So why not enjoy life a little bit? So when you have those varying opinions, the key is that we sit down and we discuss those values, not just the money, because usually that triggers a fight. You spend so much money and we're never going to get to retirement. And then the other person says, yeah, well, you're such a tightwad and a miser that, we can't ever have any fun as a couple or as a family. So I think it's very important that we discuss the real deeper reason for that conflict, and that we get a budget, that we get a plan, that we honor both people in that plan. So we have some funds for fun and connection and dating and family, and we have funds set aside for the future. So both are being honored. The last one is housework. Very, very common. In fact, I can tell you that many couples have come to see me for counseling primarily because of conflict around chores and housework, right? And the typical scenario in a heterosexual relationship is that he is kind of, the one that's seen as the slacker. He sits on the couch, he doesn't jump in and do as much. And the other irritating thing for her often is when he does jump in and help, he wants all this affirmation and praise. He wants an attaboy for jumping in. And she's kind of been keeping score, saying, well, good job. You changed the diaper. I'm on number 15,000, with the diaper changing. And so then he kind of feels resentful of that and doesn't appreciate that. And then maybe he's less likely to jump in and do some more housework. So with housework, once again, the key is that we discuss an equitable, equal plan for contributing to that. It's very important to really be specific about who does what and what days or what nights do we do those things. So there are couples who want to do all the housework before Friday night so that their whole weekend is about fun. And there are some couples who that's just not realistic. You have kids, your kids are in school, you're packing lunches, you're checking homework, you're giving baths. It's just not realistic to also, do housework that night. It's important to talk about that and get on the same page. It's also important that we're both giving 50-50. There's a 50-50 effort being made. So if he's better at the yard and he's better at fixing things and he's better at, the money per se, and she's better at these things, then it's probably a good idea to split those up. The other pitfall that often comes up too, is that one spouse who's a little bit more kind of the folksy OCD might come behind the other and kind of clean or finish or straighten up or even criticize how they do it. And that's also an issue that sometimes pops up. That's a problem, is we need to, let somebody own that sphere and kind of find a way to be okay with it not being absolutely the way we would prefer. So these are just some common relationship issues and some common problems that pop up, and some conversations and some agreements and some insights that I hope help you to connect with your spouse today or soon and make a plan for each of these 4 areas if any of them are an issue of kind of ongoing conflict. And if you need some help in your relationship beyond that, or you're just not finding that that connection and that unity, then give us a call and let's talk about that. Let's get your relationship back on track. So thanks for joining. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.